So Brexit explained politics or economics. How do we describe what actually happened with the Brexit situation? So was it taking back control, or was it about money? For years, politicians, economists have argued and have asked this question. Everyone has debated whether Britain's exit from EU was driven, more by politics or economics. So let's unpack Brexit as a case study in political economy. Hi, I'm Dr. Didier Adewale and welcome to my channel where we explore how economics and international relations collide to shape the world we live in. So today we're looking at Brexit, and one of the most important events in global history is Brexit. So to understand politics and economics and how they work hand in hand, this is a very good case study that we will be looking at today. Right. So what was the economic story behind Brexit? So let's start from the supporters of Brexit. It started with the claim to leave the EU, and that was about freeing the UK from the EU's rules about trade and cutting the cost of membership. So critics argued, the opposite, that leaving will damage trade, disrupt supply chains and hot jobs. Economically, the numbers are telling, like UK's growth slowed down compared to the EU peers, and investment dropped and the pound was weakened. Trade with the EU then, was very huge because the EU was UK's biggest partner at the time of Brexit, and things became complicated. So this is like the economic story to what actually eventually led to Brexit. Now the political story. But economics isn't the whole picture. Politically, Brexit was about sovereignty and identity. Do you smell nationalism somewhere around there? Yeah. So the famous slogan was take back control, take back control of our laws, take back controls of our borders. There's too many Europeans in town, all these kind of things, immigration policy, this kind of things point to sovereignty and identity. For many, also, it was also distrust of elites, distrust of the MPs in power, resentment of Brussels, the influence that was coming from Brussels at that time, and a wider populist wave sweeping across democracy. So everyone needed something like a change, a breath of fresh air in who is controlling what and how it's been controlled, and now a large population of the identity seem to be the one controlling things. So the political energy made Brexit possible. It was a lot of fight from the economic side and a lot of noise from the political side as well. So at some point, energy gave way and Brexit became possible thanks to Boris Johnson. So even when it looked like it wasn't going to happen in the days of Theresa May, and back and forth about how much it will cost, it happened somehow, yeah, despite the warnings. So how did this economic story and political story have a global impact? How has this Brexit story between the EU and the UK affecting us globally? How has this had an impact? So Brexit didn't just affect the UK, it sent signals around the world because everyone is watching, with this dynamics, the actors in the international sphere will take decisions, will try to copy policies. So everyone was debating and watching what was happening, and that sent signals across the world, across even different types of political systems of government. So for the EU, it was a warning about political divisions and rising nationalism. Yes, and for countries like US and China, Brexit created this opportunity for new trade deals and new collaborations and bilateral deals with the UK. And for Africa and the Commonwealth nation, it reopened conversations about trade outside the EU framework. So you would have thought, okay, looking at this impact, how do we explain how the political has now collided with the economic side? Was Brexit politics or economics? Let me know. The truth is, I think it was a bit of both. I know from my previous channel, every time we come to this conclusion, it looks like a bit of both. So that's why I let you know the story behind it, or what eventually led to that decision that has made a global impact that makes it look like every issue is political and economical. So the truth is, yes, Brexit is both politics and economics. And policy set the direction. The politics of the identity, nationalism, it set the direction for sovereignty, control. And as a result of this, economics will always be at stake in terms of jobs, trade. When you tell people, you want a separation from the EU, it means the border laws will change, the trade laws will change. Some people will lose their jobs. Some people can't meet families the way they used to. Some companies, can't afford to hire you from outside. A lot of dynamics. When some hire inside, they might not be able to meet the tax threshold. A lot of dynamics. Even investment both at the individual level, national level, and even international level, economics will be at stake. So this colliding of political and economics, created the most significant shifts in modern global affairs today. And if you see, there are results of how the EU is struggling with inflation, how the UK rather is struggling with inflation, and how even immigration policies are becoming stronger. So it's always been stop the boats, it's always been create new policies on immigration, then somehow the need for political identity became so strong. Brexit wanted to come out of the EU, and they actually pulled that through. And with the immigration policies, you will find out that even stronger policies will come up now that will still affect the economy. So let me know what you think. Was Brexit more about politics? Was it more about economics? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe for more case studies where economics connects with international relations to explain the world we live in. Let me know. Also, let me know in the comment sections, what do you think about the immigration rules, wherever you are, whether European, Asia, America, Africa, wherever you are, and how is it affecting you, personally? Let me know in the comment section. Till I see you again next time. Take care.